Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 77th On the Nail Literary Gallery, organised by the Limerick Writers' Centre, supporting arts and culture in Limerick since 2008. Anyone, and you should know this by heart now, anyone who wants to read at the open mic, please let Dominic know before it begins in approximately an hour's time. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to our book sale. There are books by local and guest authors, so please browse through them, and if you like, show your support by buying them. This month, the guests are poets Ciaran O'Driscoll and Sean Lysaght. Sean Lysaght grew up in Tomangate, Limerick. He has published 6 volumes of poems, including The Clare Island Survey, 1991, Scarecrow, 1998, The Mouth of a River, 2007, and Carnival Masks, 2014, all from Gallery Press. His verse narrative of the life of Edmund Spenser appeared under his own imprint in 2011. He won the Lawrence O'Shaughnessy Poetry Award in 2007, and his selected poems appeared from Gallery in 2010. He has also published a biography of the Irish nationalist Robert Blythe Craig, 1865-1953. He lives in Westport, County Mayo. Sean Lysaght.
Thank you very much indeed. One of the books just referred to is a book called Eris, which of course is an area in Mayo. But in fact, in the book, there's a lot that isn't about Eris, and there is a sequence of poems about Limerick. So sometimes I think a number of people have bought this book because they wanted to read all about Eris, and they were a little bit nonplussed to discover there's quite a bit about Limerick in the book. So I think I'm going to make a virtue of that this evening, and I'd like to read mostly from the Limerick poems in Eris. The first one, it refers to a time when, I'm not sure if this is still the case, a peregrine falcon had taken up residence on the spire of St. John's Cathedral and was seen hunting over the river right down there beyond Barrington's Pier. So that's kind of just the peg the poem starts on. So these are from a sequence called Limerick, and this one is a sign of peace. A peregrine sallies from the cathedral spire and glides to the corner of the sky's page. Then it works its strong wings rapidly along a line. I feel the skein of history between us, where a browsing deer hears the first strokes of the axe and cracklow, then runs off from Dunraven's beagles to be captured by her ladyship's aquarelle. Gate lodge and gate are still there in many places to mark the passage of hunters and painters when a falcon's flight commanded empty spaces. Now the needle of a plane pulls its double thread across the azure afternoon and lets it fray for those who stay here beside the wide estuary, with otters and wildfowl pictured in the parlour as a sign of peace. 3 mallards fly up the stairs. Snipe and woodcock are copied onto crockery. An amateur sun is framed in my cousin's hall, and she says, "Come in the accent I know well." As you heard, I grew up in Limerick, but my parents had very strong Kerry connections and West Limerick connections, and my aunt May had a small farm outside Abbeyfield where my grandfather lived as well. And this next piece, it's called In West Limerick, and it describes the evening of my grandfather's funeral. And there's also a reference here to a slightly learned reference to Book 6 of the Latin poem, the Aeneid. And I'm conscious of the fact that Seamus Heaney is publishing posthumously his translation of Book 6 of the Aeneid. It has just appeared, I haven't read it yet, but I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm just a little bit gratified that there is a reference to this great Latin narrative, just translated posthumously by him, appearing posthumously in Ian's translation. Okay, in West Limerick. My Latin primer was like a prayer book at Grandad's wake. I read Amo, Amat to myself dutifully. The country people sat around me drinking porter or tea, while outside the pile of towels burned poorly because of the rain. Noreen's eldest was in the middle of exams, and Joe's last prayer that night would help the boy succeed. If you have any faith at all. I was left to learn the verb to love. Before they closed the coffin, I was told to put down my book and look at him in the room. He was the wit of Island Daddy, Joe Welsh. He had heard the shots of Gertrude Glennon. He had known a woman who'd been through the famine. Then the men carried the coffin down to the road on a wretched evening with soot black clouds. I remember how the coffin handles glowed through the twilight, like the golden bough Aeneas carried to the underworld. That was a few years later, book 6 of the Aeneid, the hero's quest with the Sibyl from Quay, the winning steps through a grammar that's remote and elemental, like my first memories of an old man in his seat, me biting into an apple he had given me, and then him asking, "Well, bye-bye, is it sweet?" One of my memories, I suppose many memories really, was of, as a lad, going down along the river, past Quay's factory, and on down to Westfields before they built the ring road, which cuts across the marsh now. So Westfield was a great haunt for me as a teenager. Sometimes I had a scientific purpose because I was interested in the bird life down there. There were other less scientific purposes as well, and the less said about those the better. But anyway, here's another piece. Rivertown. The first town planner was a Dane wading the ford. He conceived of a river dividing people in that bare place and gave its meaning to Lax Weir. Water was always going to be a concept here, as was stone lifting grey stone above the river. Anglo-Normans, Elizabethans, Cromwellians, all kept the town's portcullis, but they died elsewhere and left memories to the local historians for them to celebrate the sullen garrison and the gaudy jades in the streets of Irish town. They survive in an engraving under the Turner skies, these characters hidden by their burdens as they unload the yawl at the wharf, the shawled women, the ragged urchins, the tight waistcoat of the boss, and told the artist to make him look prosperous. And then later there's this scene at Barrington's Pier with young lads jeering at a Finnish timber ship as it surges proudly on its way from Limerick before I was ready. So there I am waving, being abandoned to my early books on rivers, the Volga by Gorky, the Vistula by Grass.
Thank you very much, Sean Lysaght. Ciaran O'Driscoll, born in Kilkenny and now residing in Limerick, is a poet and editor. His poetry is collected in Gog and Magog, 1987 from Salmon, The Port in His Shadow, 1990, Dedalus, Listening to Different Drummers, 1993, Dedalus, The Old Women of Magione, 1997, Dedalus, and Moving On, Still There, New and Selected Poems, 2001, Dedalus. He was guest editor of Cyphers, 1992-93, and co-editor of On the Counterscarp. O'Driscoll has also written a memoir, A Runner Among Falling Leaves, 2001, Liverpool University Press. He is a member of Aosdána, and his most recent publications are the novel A Year's Midnight from Pighog Press, 2012, and a collection of poems, Life Monitor 3, Spires Press, 2009. His poem, Please Hold, has become a prescribed text for for a level English literature. Truly, the man has arrived. Ciaran O'Driscoll.
Just read a few, 7 poems. I've selected 7 poems to read, so if you're getting impatient, you can count them. First one is called The God Wife, and this is dedicated to my wife who can't be here tonight. She has better things to be doing than listening to me. God took the form of woman yesterday. She stood with her back to me at a market stall, inclining slightly, opening her purse to pay for what turned out to be hand oil. Person was written in the way she stood, and kind of person too, closing the sale with a comely cut and jib I can't rehearse. Some quirk she had put me in mind of God. And then a shining cloud came over me, and recognition lit my sullen self with suddenly revealed divinity, the God allotment given me in life. And though she hadn't yet turned round to face me, I knew that I was looking at my wife. This one is called Homage to Henry Reid. Now, Henry Reid was an English poet who fought in the Second World War and who only published one book of poems in his lifetime, which was called, I forget what it was called, but there was one poem of his which I particularly loved from the time I first heard Dylan Thomas reciting it. On one of those Caedmon E45 records, as a poem called Naming of Parts. And Henry Reid had a great reputation for being able to imitate drill sergeants and the way they talked when instructing recruits. This poem begins with a drill sergeant teaching a group of very raw recruits in the middle of the Second World War the parts of a rifle. Just to quote the first stanza. Today we have naming of parts. Yesterday we had daily cleaning, and tomorrow morning we shall have what to do after firing. But today we have naming of parts. Japonica glistens like coral in all of the neighbouring gardens. And today we have naming of parts. So it goes on like that. There's two. It's like the drill sergeant and some recruit. His thoughts, noticing the flowers blooming in the gardens all around. So this is what I just wrote this homage because it has been a poem which I have loved for a long time. First rate in parody of drill sergeants, I fancy he was taken by surprise when it was given him to harmonise the shattered contents of the universe, arrange them in coherent dance, beguile ironic beauty out of square bashing, as draftees got up close and personal to guns among the garden blooms of spring. The point of entry and the life within, you may lead others to, not make them drink. Enough to wish them their own helicon, their own connection in the cosmic link. It's poetry and one, alone together, the inner object and the inner I. The poem I stumbled into as a boy still stumbles into me. Next one is called A Message from Olympia. And Olympia is the famous painting by Manet, which is in the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. And the fiction in this poem is that I remember I was with a friend of mine, Jerry O'Sullivan, an Irish language poet who lives in Paris. And we spent a long time looking for this painting in the Musée d'Orsay. But it wasn't there because it had been given out on exhibition to someplace like New York, in the Gog and Magog Museum or someplace. Anyway, we couldn't find it. And so we had to go without that bit of titillation. Aesthetic titillation, of course. But anyway, the fiction is that Olympia, when she got back, she left a message for me, hearing that I had been looking for her all the time. She left a message for me at the entrance, and this is the message. You'll find me presently in room number 14. If you want to love me, forget the other one who stares out at the canvas far too brazenly. I, Olympia, would like to see you again, and wonder why you have ignored me for so long. Don't spend too much time with Caillebots, floor planers, or Ouroboros, nymphs and satyrs, or the sweet-toothed dancers at Redmore's Moulin. I too have a sweet tooth for galettes. Beware the tricksters who approach you in the street and pretend to pick a gold ring off the ground. Gold rings, like me, are treasures not easily come by. Look at the bunch of flowers my maid is giving me. It's from a statesman. He's quite close to Bonaparte. But powerful men apart, I'm very partial to poets and artists. Manet was the making of me, and Baudelaire was bawdy with me once or twice. In the orangery, Paul Klee is thinking of death. And as for Monet's wall-to-wall lily pads, they're fine in their way if it's lily pads you want. When a young woman hands you a €5 note, don't treat her the same as those peddlers of false gold. You'll have dropped it searching pockets for your metro ticket. At Place de la Concorde, pause to remember me, and the sweep of the river passing under bridges. The copper mines of Peru. People have laughed. I see Terry laughing in anticipation. That's great. This is my, I don't know, satire, I suppose, on the Celtic Tiger years, but it's also kind of tied up with bringing up a youngster, a teenager, in those years. So it'll become evident. I don't need to say much more. The copper mines of Peru. A sullen-faced youngster is getting into his father's car. He's had a bad childhood. I had a bad childhood too, but I got over it. Look at me. I'm going through the cycles of eternal recurrence. Unlike my father did on me, I never laid a hand on him, and yet what his eyes are saying every time I look at him is that I have failed him, that I embarrass him, that my very existence was the cause of his bad childhood. What he needs is a good funt. But you can't get away with that nowadays. I'm driving him to school, but he doesn't want to be driven to school. Above all, he doesn't want me to drive him to school. And if he must be driven to school, it should be in a Merc or a Beamer. But what he really, really wants is to have his own Merc or Beamer and drive himself to school. Would he be happy with that? No, there'd be something else biting him. Someday one of his pals would descend to school in a helicopter, then he'd want a fucking helicopter. And would that take the perpetual sulk off his face? Would he get a life then? You can be certain he wouldn't, because I'd buy him a shit helicopter. Having mortgaged the house to pay for it and sold my wife into slavery and sent his younger brother and sister to work in the copper mines of Peru. While other fathers would buy his classmates brand new, classy twin jet-engined helicopters. His would only be second-hand with a single piston engine, and not one of the girls in the school would ask him for a lift. And if I tried to reason with him, "Son, you can take it from me." "Oh, Jesus, not that again," he'd say. "Let me talk, you little fucker," I'd say. And he'd throw his eyes to heaven, heaving a petulant sigh. "You can take it from me," I'd say, "that if a girl likes you, really likes you, she won't care if your helicopter is shit. It's you, not your helicopter she'll want, your personality." "Tell that to the Marines," he'd say. "Anyway, I don't have a personality. I had a bad childhood, remember?" And this is how it would finish. We'd settle down in our sleeping bags in the cabin of the shit helicopter, parked on a flat rock on the top of a mountain. "I miss Mom and Billy and Frida," I'd say. "So do I," he'd say. "Fuck you and your teenage angst. Fuck you and your shit helicopter. Night, son. Night, Dad."